Greetings, and welcome to another video from odooclass.com. In this video, we're going to take a look at one of Odoo's most useful online utilities, and that's the Odoo Runbot. Now, you can see here I've pulled it up that if you go to runbot.odoo.com, you're going to get brought to this screen. And what this Runbot's going to allow you to do is basically run multiple instances of Odoo without having to do any installation, without having to do any setup, to let you test features and let you work through different transactional processes. And so we're going to just get started here by looking at, when you go to runbot.odoo.com, that you'll see the different branches here. So if you're wanting to look at the 7.0 branch, you'd have it right here to look at. And we can see that you have 8, and as we scroll down, you'll see 9, and then next here is the master branch. And so the master would be what would now be called Odoo 10's Alpha, but this is basically the newest version that hasn't been released yet. And then you can see here we get into SaaS builds as we scroll down. And these numbered builds are actually specific tests of different branches and different fixes that people are putting into place, that some of which might be rolled up into, say, the master branch up here later, or 9.0, depending upon on how these particular setups for these Odoo Runbots are. So let's just see how this works in practice. Now, let's say you want to test a feature of the 9.0 Odoo Community version, and you want to test out some processes, but rather than having to set up your own server to do such a thing, if you just need to test a few things out, you can come right here to the 9.0 branch, and right here you'll see it says Quick Connect. So I can click Quick Connect right here, and it's going to bring up, you'll see a database already set up here that says all. And if I click select here, you're going to see that there's a base and an all database. Now the base database only has the base application installed for Odoo. It doesn't have any of the sales or manufacturing, purchasing, or any of the modules installed. In contrast, the all has everything. So let's go ahead and just look at the one that has everything. And by everything, I don't mean every one of the thousands of community modules, but all is going to be all of the primary Odoo applications. So we're going to see right here. So you're going to use admin for the email, and it's always going to be admin for the password. So it's admin and admin to run these RunBot Odoo applications. And you'll notice that it's loaded it up here, and we've got applications, Odoo applications across the top. And if I click more, you'll see, look how many we got here. It's pretty much everything possible that you would install in Odoo. And we can go and look at the apps here and see how many installed. So all of these are installed, all these 32. Among many others that it's installing as well, that you could go through here and look and see all the ones that it has out of these 284, that you can see that it pretty much installs everything that's the standard modules. Now obviously you can see that it hasn't installed multiple accounting options, which we would just break it or wouldn't make sense. But you can see that it's installed as soon as it gets past the accounting. You can see that the link tracker is installed, mail tips are installed, marketing is installed. So it pretty much installs everything. And so what this allows us to do is, if we want to test out, say, sales, for example, we can go here to sales and come down here to sales orders. And this is a complete functioning database. We can come here and say create, pick a customer, pick an analytic account, assign a product, fills all that in. Save it. And we can see that we have a view online quotation option, which I think they just changed this a little bit here. From what I have seen, and this is a little bit newer look. So they have even just in 9 made some changes here. But you can see here's the oh, I know what it is. It's because of the module that's installed, because the application that's installed has given us a little bit updated version here of the quotation. You can see the quotation actually has content in it. So that might be a future video that we're going to cover, this kind of more advanced quoting feature that allows you to have um, an offer expiration date, whether to accept the offer, ask for changes, or reject. So this kind of online offer thing that allows you to have full text in it. But you can see here, really at this point, you have this full version of Odoo running, and you haven't had to set anything up, and it's the latest build. And if we go back and look at RunBot here, so we'll just go back and type in runbot.odoo.com, you'll notice that across here in the columns are the various fixes that have happened. So if we come down here to the 9.0 version, we can see that this last fix came in an hour and 17 minutes ago, and we can read a little bit about that fix here. And if we click this little icon here, this is going to bring us up the logs, basically, of the summary of the log and any warnings that it got. So you can see the warnings here that were received. And then if we wish, we can come in here and look at the full logs. So let's say full all logs. And so then you can actually see, just like you would on your own server running Odoo, the startup process here of everything getting loaded, and at that running log right up to the point of where it shows that it's initiating the shutdown of the service after it's done all its tests and um, everything. So basically what this is the actual application itself, the full Odoo application with all the modules installed, going through one after another. And we can see here that there are a few places where you could maybe see that there's some errors that might have occurred, warnings or such things. But what you can see here though is you get a full, complete log of everything, and all the tests that get run. You can see here the tests that it actually runs tests against these applications. Sometimes they're called unit tests, that can test the overall integrity of the application, make sure certain processes perform as expected by running tests against them. Now, this also ties directly into GitHub and getting the source code. So let's say that you wanted to look at the new Odoo 10 source code. There's this, as you'll see here, branch or pull, and if I tap this, it's going to take you right in here to GitHub, where you have the actual source code for the community edition of Odoo, and you can click the clone or download right here, hook it into your GitHub repositories. It's all tied in right there. And so this can also be, as you can see, a real handy way to get access to the source code of the various builds. And so sometimes, however, rather than running all the apps, you might want to just have the base and look at what's in the base edition. So let's see, we're going to go to the Odoo 10 here this time and connect to it. And you'll see with just one click here, we can connect to the very latest master branch. It's just an hour old here. And rather than going to the all, let's go ahead and choose base this time. We'll look at the database here. Now, one of the most interesting things is that because you're logged in as admin, you can go ahead and install an application. So let's go ahead and just click a quick install here on sales. And so rather than having to, create your own instance of the latest build and pull it and do tests, if you just need to test a certain process, test one application, test a particular configuration, this RunBot is a quick way for you to test a few of these things out. Now, obviously, that's not going to be the case for all scenarios. There are going to be times where you need your own testing environment and data to work with. But this is a quick way if you, for example, have a client that says, how do you do this certain feature or this certain process? If you can quickly go here to the RunBot, find the build that you're interested in, and you've got the application right here ready to go. And you can see we've got just the sales installed. And we can go here to sales and create the invoice from it, test out the process, and so forth, just like we would as if it was our own installation. So that's a feature of the RunBot that it lets you add these applications in. I would just say as a courtesy to the community that you're not going to want to necessarily don't intentionally dirty up the RunBots with the base application with lots of applications. If you're going to need to test applications, go ahead and use the one that already has all of them installed, and test those processes using that installation rather than adding a bunch of applications to this base database, because this base database is a base database for a reason, and people are coming into it expecting it to be a base database without a bunch of applications in it. So I certainly don't think it's a big deal to add one app, but remember it's a shared database, so be considerate of other people in the community and not treat it like a formal test bed. Also remember too that each of these builds, if we go here and look at the RunBot, each of these are their own build. That you can see that it used to be that you could connect to each of these directly here, but it looks like they've taken that ability out to connect directly to them, to all these. So they're just keeping the most latest branch running. And you can see that it's 4 testing, 109 running. So these are the 4 major test branches. Now you'll notice that this was the community edition, but fortunately RunBot also lets you test out the enterprise. And so if you'll notice here at the top you have Odoo, and that's the one we're currently in. You can see it kind of mapped here to GitHub. There's also Odoo/enterprise. If we click this here, we're now on the RunBot for Odoo Enterprise, and you can see that Enterprise just started with 9. There was no 8.0 Enterprise. So you can see there's 9 and there's the new master. So we could go here and connect to the master for Odoo 10, really this is. The alpha of Odoo 10. We go here to admin and admin. And you'll notice one of the other things that this RunBot does is it also lets you have, it also logs you in as in debug mode. So notice it has that you're in debug mode already. And here's the enterprise look. So you can see it's a considerably different look in enterprise. And if we go to sales, we'll see the difference here. And so what you can actually do here with the RunBot is, let's see, I think we can duplicate this into another tab like that. And let's actually go just to RunBot. And we could bring up the Odoo Master 10 community. And what I'm doing is I'm running these basically side by side. So here's an Odoo 10 community RunBot, and it's also starts you out in debug mode. But you'll see the difference here. This one, you know, in Enterprise, it changes over to sales being the application. Here, when you click sales, you don't really get that same um, reference. It still leaves the whole menu up at the top, where in Enterprise, the menu is for sales is now across the top, and you get back to the other applications through this mechanism. So it's a completely different look between Community and Enterprise, but you can test each one of them out. So I can go here to sales orders here and click on one, and so this is the sales order in Odoo 9 Community. I'm sorry, Master Community, which is really Odoo 10. And then I can go here and see one. This is how it looks in Enterprise. So these are the same builds in terms of the master build of Odoo 10 Alpha. So we can come here and let's see, is it here? Where did they put the about? I think they kind of changed it. I guess it's in preferences now. You get the idea that you can run these side by side now and see you know, how they look. And so this being the community version, this being the enterprise version of Odoo, and the RunBot is going to, you know, keep getting fixes. And so, you know, at some point you have to remember that this instance is going to go away. You can see it's numbered right here, and it's got this, you know, unique identifier for this particular build. And there'll be new ones come out. You know, as you can see, some of them, it could be out within the hour. There could be a new build that would come in and replace out this branch, and the next one will just keep flowing down the line and so forth. So now the enterprise, if we look at it, one of the things you'll notice, if we try to go to the branch or pull on this, it's letting me in here because I'm signed in. I have access to the enterprise because I'm a partner, and so forth. But if we log out of this and go back to the branch or pull, you'll notice that we get a 404. So you'll probably, if you don't have access to the GitHub Enterprise, the enterprise repository, you won't be able to get to the repository, but you can still run it. So you can still do a quick connect and get to the Odoo 9 Enterprise edition. As you can see here, we're able to get to the Enterprise edition even though we're not logged into GitHub Enterprise repository. But it will let us run it. So you can test out all the features of Enterprise. And for a lot of people, when it comes to Enterprise, this might be one of the easiest ways for you to really get in quick and test some things out and see if it does what you want it to do. Because it's always going to be up to date. It's always going to be available. And best of all, you don't have to set up any special accounts or sign up for anything. You know, it's all, as you can see, we've never signed in. You always just use admin, and it also lets you see, you know, just as we looked between 9 community and or 10 community and 10 enterprise, you could also look between version 8 and version 9, or even version 7 and version 9. So it allows you to really look at pretty much any of the latest builds of Odoo and connect to them. Like, I don't really have a lot to do with 7 anymore, but every once in a while I'll have a client or someone will come in and they need some work done in 7, or ask about what's different in 7, you know, what's changed. And so you can see that this, we still have it saying Open ERP up here, and we can go all the way back. And so this is a version 7 of Odoo that otherwise we'd have to download and set up and put onto our own servers. Even if you're using a virtual server, it takes time to set all that up. And if you're just really needing to look at version 7 to check a certain process, um, this works just as well. Another little tip is that you'll notice as I mentioned, it does start you out in debug mode in the others. In this one, I'm not sure it does. Let's see if it gets, we go to the about. Yeah, and you can see we're version 7 here. We're going to activate the developer mode. And so this is before we became Odoo. Still says OpenERP essay. And so now we're in the debug mode. And since you're in the debug mode, um, for example, we could go in and look at this view, for example, edit the form view, and see specifically what fields are being used and what models are being used and how 7 is configured. Why is this important? Well, if you're moving from version 7 to version 8, or you're questioning whether something like a community module or add-on is going to work in 7 versus 8 or versus 9, the ability to look under the hood a little bit and see the fields and the models is important, as well as we can go here to settings, for example, and look at the database settings here and actually see the models for them. And we'd have to turn on the technical settings here. So this is back to the old Odoo 8 where you have to turn on the technical settings for the user. And just so I am going to show you guys that, just because that is something that you had to do back in these versions. But if I go to admin, you'll notice that it's under access rights. Technical features here has to be turned on. And then now with that turned on, you can come under database structures, see models. And here's all the models that make up everything. So if I go here to sale.order, and I can see the model here for it. And this is the model for version 7 sales order. And I'm showing you this as part of this RunBot exercise because it's important to reinforce that when you need to do comparisons or you're looking at doing upgrades or doing certain things, being able to look at the structure of previous versions and previous builds is really important. And this RunBot gives you a quick way to go in and see these things. And even if it's not for your final production, it at least can give you a starting point if you're, say, going to make a bid for what it's going to cost to do a conversion from one version to another. This can give you some real insight into the structures, what's changed between one version of Odoo and another version of Odoo, without having to go through maybe a couple hours of setting up different builds and looking at different installations and getting them up and running. So with that, I'm going to let you go. Remember, the RunBot for Odoo is out there. A lot of you probably already knew it existed, but if you haven't tried it, give it a shot. And remember that just that it, the data you put into it and all the transactions, they're not going to be around. It's just a way for you to get in and test a build. It's again great for looking at a enterprise. If you're not an enterprise client and don't have access to enterprise easily, this RunBot's a way for you to quickly get access to enterprise and see it and check it out and see the exact differences between a version, say community version versus the enterprise version. So with that said, we'll wrap the video up, and thanks for watching.